This week on my coastal food trails, I'm in County Clare. The Burren is of course famous for its extraordinary limestone hills and pristine Atlantic coastline, and these combine to produce some really excellent food. The rocks that make up the Burren were formed around 300 million years ago, and the Burren is recognised by UNESCO as a global geopark of international importance. UNESCO also celebrate food producers in their geoparks under the GeoFood label, and I'll be learning more about that later. From lobsters to beef and even chocolate, the Burren Coast has a dynamic food scene where tradition meets innovation, and I'm really looking forward to sampling it for myself. The Nans Lobster Bar is in New Quay, right on the edge of the Burren. The building is more than 300 years old, and beside the bar is where flaggy shore oysters are processed and packed, as well as other shellfish. There's a man busy at work. Hello, Mark.
How are you doing, Neven? Welcome to Flaggy Shore Oysters. Good to see you. How are you?
I believe you have a beautiful selection of fresh seafood for me.
We've some nice shellfish here today that we keep here, Flaggy Shore Oysters. We've got some clams that I've just placed in the basket here for you.
They look so clean.
Yeah, they're lovely. They're from Nolan family clams, Cotton Galway Bay. They're surf clams.
And of course, what you're known for is your oysters here.
Yeah, we've got the smaller ones today. They're known as the Flaggy Shore Dainty. They're all from the bays around here. Smaller little oyster.
Yeah.
About 50 to 70 grams. They're kind of the French grade 4. But they're very popular, especially in restaurants like Restaurant Patrick Ebo's, Chapter 1, Variety Jones.
And they're lovely small ones, so they are.
They are, and people kind of find them more approachable. So we also sell the bigger ones, the grade 3s. They're the French grade 3, which can be about 70 grams up. But people like these for their first oyster experience. It's kind of small and more approachable.
Lovely.
And like a nice savoury taste.
Are they just harvested just from here?
Yeah, all the oysters come from the Burren. They've got a lovely mineral taste, which comes from the underflowing rivers that flow into the water just outside. So the water is pumped up straight from the ocean directly beside us into our purification tanks. They're purified in there for 42 hours just to clean them out.
Okay.
And then they're brought up and they're boxed and sent away. And also we use them above in the Nans Lobster Bar as well.
So we have our clams, we have our lovely oysters. What's next?
Yeah, I've got some lobster as well, straight from the bay here again.
Oh, he's lively.
He's a nice guy, yeah. So again, Cotton Galway Bay, fishermen bring them into us straight off and we keep them here in our holding tanks. And we sell a lot of these.
It doesn't come fresher than this, Mark.
We're very lucky where we are, Neven.
Fantastic. Now I'm going to bring these to Chef Alex and he's going to see what he cooks
Great.
up for me.
Thanks very much, Neven.
Thanks
a million. Have a good day.
So the first thing I'm going to do is heat up my pan, get it nice and hot.
Okay.
So you need to drop in the clams.
Well, here we go. These take a wee while to cook.
Yeah, so these have like a thicker shell than the mussel does. And this one will take slightly bit longer to open up. So we're going to get the pan nice and hot now, and we're going to drop in 2 handfuls of clams. So you want the clams to cook in their own juices.
Okay.
So you put them in dry and let the shell heat up a bit and it'll pop out.
Lovely.
And then the juice of the clams will come out and glaze itself. So we're going to throw in the mussels.
And they look very clean too, so you must have debearded them.
Yes, and they come in, we take the beards off, we take the barnacles off, just clean them up nice, ready to prepare for this dish. So now we're just going to add a little bit of oil to boost things up a bit.
Okay. Now a bit of sizzle.
And then a bit of garlic parsley oil.
So is that just blended garlic?
That is just blended garlic with parsley, yeah.
Lovely. And a pinch of chilli.
A pinch of chilli. We don't want to be burning everyone's mouth now. So, and straight after that, just a bit of white wine here.
White wine.
Just to stop the pan from burning.
Lovely.
And help boost the steam into the clams. And then we're going to finish this off with a little bit of Atlantic prawns, just for a bit of texture in the dish, a bit of depth of flavour. Now we're going to hit it with a little bit of salt and pepper.
Would this be a very popular dish here? Now the guests love it. The lobster, the whole combination of the clams, mussels, prawns. Like it's a feast of seafood.
It is a feast. You're right. Like I say, it's served for 2 people here.
Okay.
And it does feed you. And we take the lobster straight from our lobster man here, Jerry, and we take them and hold them in the tanks just to clean them out a little bit. And then when we are ready to prepare them, we just slice them in half. And as you can see here, I haven't cut directly through. Okay. I've kept some connective tissue here.
So it's just a bit of a good sharp knife, okay?
Yeah. And I season it with salt and pepper, straight onto the lava rock grill that we have here. And then we take it off the grill after 2 minutes. And we baste it with a bit of garlic, parsley, butter. And then under the salamander, just to finish. And that's it. That's it, yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And the claws we have separately. These have been parboiled for 8 minutes. This is garlic and parsley herb butter.
Lovely. And is that what you brushed over the lobster before you grilled it?
That's exactly the same, yeah.
Excellent.
I'm just going to finish this with a little bit of lemon.
Lovely.
Just to stop the cooking of the fish. And it's also nice to just finish things with lemon with fish.
It is, isn't it?
So I'm going to start plating up now.
Okay, of course, absolutely. God, there's so much.
Yeah, like I say, it's for 2 people here, so
Yeah.
you've got to load it up, you know. And it's paired with some beautiful wines that we have here in the Nans.
Okay.
We have an amazing wine list here.
All right.
Close
Of course,
in there.
with your chef's hands, you can just lift that out.
Oh yeah, asbestos fingers, asbestos
Fantastic,
fingers.
yeah.
And now we're going to pour the remainder of the juice over it there.
Gorgeous.
The last bit of the juice that's in the pan, I'm going to heat up these potatoes
All
that
right.
are pre-cooked already, the crispy baby potatoes. And I've just run it through with some garlic and parsley oil.
Now I'm going to taste while you're doing that. I'm going to get a little mussel. Is that okay?
Yeah, just going to warm them through there in a second.
That is gorgeous. The wine, lemon, beautiful.
And then we're just going to finish with the lobster on
Lovely.
top.
That's amazing.
Now that with a bit of salad, take a while to eat.
And then a siesta after it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one dish. Now the oysters, which you're so famous for.
Yes.
So what are you going to do with this?
So these are our flaggy shore dainty oysters. They're nice, sweet, salty, umami flavours coming through there. So here I have a little bit of Thai dressing, which consists of equal quantities of lime juice, fish sauce and brown sugar.
Gorgeous.
So we just do the bit of dressing there, go a little bit of pickled ginger.
So it's kind of like an Asian-inspired recipe, really, for this.
Yes, absolutely. And now for some pickled chili, which I've just pickled in white wine vinegar and a bit of sugar. This is wild rice that we've just puffed in hot oil. We bring the oil to flashing point and drop the raw rice in there and season the rice. It brings like a sesame kind of flavour. And then finished off with some micro coriander.
They look so good. So which one will I taste?
Go for this one here.
And why did you pick that one?
It's just so beautiful now.
Okay. It's gorgeous, and I love the rice too.
Yeah, yeah.
The ginger, there's so many different elements.
Yeah.
But that lovely kind of creamy, fresh oyster is gorgeous.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for cooking 2 beautiful dishes.
No worries, thank you
In
very
a
much.
stunning setting.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Thanks a million for your time. KarConnell is a sheep and dairy farm which has been in the Deveron family for 5 generations. Like many farms, this one has diversified, and now the farm has a sheepdog demonstration area and a cafe. There is also an ancient ring fort on the farm, which is over 1,000 years old. Jewellery, glass from Venice and amber from the Baltic regions have been found at the fort, indicating that it was a thriving settlement. Beside the fort is a specially constructed paddock, where the shepherds demonstrate their sheepdog training skills, such as commanding the dogs to round up precise numbers of sheep, sending the sheep into pens, and controlling the dogs from a distance. The sheepdogs are border collies, bred and trained at KarConnell. It takes up to 2 years to train each dog, which are used to herd sheep and cattle.
I'll gather up the sheep there with
Okay.
Rose. She's waiting for me out there now.
Is
You're-
she? That's unbelievable. So how do you use this? Tell
So
me.
you put it in your
Okay.
mouth there like this, and you hold it in your lips.
And where does your tongue go behind
And
it?
your tongue goes in behind it like this here. Yeah.
I am blowing.
Yeah, so yeah, you're not doing a very good job though.
Thanks a lot.
It does take a bit of practice, I will be honest about it. Generally it takes people a couple of days to get a bit of a sound out of it even.
Could be a couple of months for me.
I think it could be, yeah, you're struggling with it. I don't think you've any success with that.
I don't think I'll give up the day job. I'll give you that back.
I wouldn't just yet. Thanks very much. It was lovely to
Great
meet
man.
you. Thanks very much. Yeah, best of
Keep
luck.
up the great work, my
Thank
friend.
You very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
There are lots of chocolate makers all over the country, but Hazel Mountain chocolate in the Burren is different. It's one of the very few chocolate factories that buys cocoa beans directly from farms in Cuba, Mexico and Costa Rica. It also processes the beans on site to make the cocoa butter. The flavour of the chocolate depends very much on where the beans have come from. The cafe, shop and factory are run by Kasia Conley and her husband John on what used to be the site of his grandparents' farm.
So Neven, these are the roasted cocoa beans. They've been in there for about 8 to 12 minutes, between 120 and 180 degrees. Just beside you is the bag of the unroasted beans.
Wow.
Sometimes people think they smell a bit like feet, but that's the fermented cocoa beans. So they come to us, they've been harvested, fermented and dried in the sun. put into these Hessian bags when they have about 8% moisture. Obviously, you know this is a coffee roaster which we've modified for the purpose of roasting the cocoa beans. So, and you can see now, once they're roasted, that vinegary odor dissipates and they have this lovely chocolatey aroma to them.
Oh, smell of that. Oh, that's so different, isn't it?
Yeah, so and they're the cocoa beans from Mexico. So you had some chocolate earlier from Mexico.
That's them.
Yeah, that's them.
Oh, that is heavenly.
Okay, so this is the process where we're going to crack and winnow, which is the next stage of chocolate production. And essentially it's where you take a cocoa bean, you remove the shell using air and vibration, and you're left with the cocoa bean. It has fracture marks on it, and once you apply a little bit of pressure, you'll see it breaks into these small bits, and the bits are called nibs. And this is what we use to make chocolate.
No, I love these, and we use them in the restaurant for kind of garnishing, for serving petit fours. And there's no sugar, it's just pure cacao here, is that what?
Just pure cacao, yeah. So we're going to take these beautifully nutty looking cocoa nibs and then make that into silky smooth chocolate. And we do that just over here.
This is some machine now.
So this idea is very old in the sense that it's a stone mill. So for thousands of years in the Burren, people are stone milling hazelnuts into flour, and we're now stone milling cocoa nibs into chocolate. So these are two granite wheels that rotate on a granite base. And as they crush the cocoa bean, it releases the cocoa butter. And during that process, we'll add sugar. This takes 48 hours, and our entire process takes a month to go from a bag of beans to a chocolate bar on the shelf.
That's impressive. Any heat here at all?
No, heat is generated through friction. When you put your hand there, you can feel it's quite warm.
Yes.
That's just through the friction of the movement of the granite wheels on the granite base.
And it's so slow. Look at it, it's just very therapeutic, I'd say, you know, looking at it.
Yeah, you nearly fall into it sometimes looking in there.
No, I wouldn't mind falling into that.
And so while we're here today, and it's a special occasion, we'll have a little taste of chocolate.
Okay. I think this might be the best chocolate I've ever tasted in my life. Look at that. So have you added any sugar, anything to this?
Yeah, so that's cocoa nib and sugar, just two ingredients. And it's been milling for about 36 hours. So still got another 10 hours of milling. So it's smooth, but it's still a little bit grainy.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and another 10 hours, and then we will take it out of this and we'll pour it into a mold and we'll leave it set, just like this. So you'll end up with a block of untempered chocolate. So when people look at this, it doesn't appear like a finished product, and it isn't, untempered. So the next stage in our other part of the building is chocolatiering, and the chocolatiers will take this, melt it at different temperature points and make it into bars and truffles.
And there's real art and skill in that, isn't there?
Absolutely, yeah. Both sections have their own skill base. I feel like this is a bit more mechanical, and then chocolatiering is more artistic.
That is fantastic. You know, you have a very unique product here. Thank you so much to both of you for your time. It's been brilliant.
Thanks for coming.
The Burren is a UNESCO Global Geopark, which means that its geology is protected and of international importance. The GeoFood Initiative is part of the Geopark organisation, and its members have to meet strict criteria on animal welfare, biodiversity, and preserving the culture and traditions of the area. One of these traditions is winterage, and beef farmer Cathal O'Rourke explained to me what that is.
Winterage is probably, Neven, the exact opposite of what they would do in other parts of the country and countries, is that we let our cattle out for the winter in the uplands, and they'll graze off, we'll say, the fires that we've preserved basically over the summertime. But we'll let the land back and we'll let it grow, and we leave the cattle out there for the winter.
They must be very hardy wee animals to do that.
They're hardy, but you see, I suppose during the summer here, the landscape is absorbing the heat. So it's quite warm during the winter time.
Okay.
And we're allowing the grasses to grow in the rock, we'll say, during the summertime. So they've got plenty to eat, and it's very warm, and they've got a natural water resource as well. So they're quite content, and we try not to disturb them that much.
And what are they actually eating when they're out here?
The Burren has about 80% of all the wildflowers that grow in Ireland. So in the clints and grikes of the limestone pavement, you've got alpine, Arctic and Mediterranean flora and fauna that grow. And the cattle are imperative to that because as they graze through the winterage practice, they're pruning it down in the winter to come back the following spring.
So that surely must affect the flavour of the meat.
Yeah, the taste of the meat has a great depth and flavour because of all the different type of grasses and herbs that the cattle are eating. So they could be in a forested area or they could be out on the rock or they're on the good land. So they've got ancient clover that they're eating because it's been rejuvenated.
The method really of the winterage and the objective really is to graze it off during the winter time to make room for the flowers to come in springtime and early summer. And I suppose farmers effectively in the Burren have been doing that for thousands of years. We just weren't aware of it.
So tell me about your beef. I know it's quality assured, it's the best beef, as you say. Tell me a little bit about the breed. Is it breed Pacific?
Ourselves here on our farm, it's either a Hereford or an Angus breed.
We keep the cattle till they're 3 years old. So they get a full extra 12 months of life than the beef that you're normally buying from stores. So that slow rearing leaves the beef way better marbled and they're stress-free as well. So the tenderness of the beef comes through as well. So when people come here, we like them to try the product. It's a really important part of the experience. Each experience is very bespoke. So whether it's a burger on the fire that we do or a campfire stew, or I do an air-dried beef as well, it's something that I've only started doing recently. So I use the eye of the round and the fillet and we hang it for 30 days and then we use the air-dried chamber with moss and sea salt. So I'd love to get your opinion on what you think about it.
You're a very talented woman. It's beautifully marbled, so it is.
That's air-dried for 8 hours.
It's fantastic. It's just fantastic what you've achieved here in a stunning location, guys. Thank you both so much. I really have so much admiration for how hard the farmers work and them having a talented woman there. Fun Gavin. It's a winner. You're on to a winner.
Thanks very much, Neven.
Thanks, Neven.
Great. Well done. My final destination in what has been a really interesting food trail in County Clare is Grians Castle Hotel, situated on the edge of the Burren with views of Galway Bay in the distance. It's a small luxury hotel with a great reputation for food, much of which is grown in the kitchen garden. I'm here to meet head chef Jonathan Farrell, who's going to cook some of the Burren premium beef.
So this is strip loin, Burren Premier beef. I have water bathed it before and I know some chefs are a bit funny about it, but I think in this preparation it does give the best of both worlds in terms of taste and texture. Now we just need to kind of gently bring it back up to temperature so it's a nice kind of... Gonna go fat side down. You know, you've got fat, but you also have that connective tissue, so you want to kind of break that down a bit, crisp it up so it's a bit more pleasurable to eat.
Okay. Lovely. You've just added in the butter just to give it lovely flavour, is it?
Yeah, exactly, you know.
Gorgeous colour.
What we're going to do to bring this back up to temperature, if you look in that little hot cupboard we have there should be a little container. So that is what some people call tallow, but basically beef fat that we rendered down. We've infused it with kind of classic aromats, so, you know, your thyme, garlic, pepper, stuff like that. So in that box, it kind of has got a gentle heat, so we're almost going to confit it to kind of bring the temperature back up kind of nice and gently. You just want to pop it in, back in the hot box, and that should just nicely come back up to temperature.
I'll pop that in for you. So how long do you leave it in the hot box for?
Should take in the realm of kind of like 15, 20 minutes, thereabouts.
So what's the next thing you're doing for the dish?
So the next thing we have this potato pave, thinly sliced potato, layered. Usually we do with butter, but we actually use the same infused beef tallow between the layers just to try and, again, get beef into like every possible way we can.
Sounds gorgeous. So you're going to crisp this up?
Yeah, we're just going to crisp it up. You want to be careful about the temperature. You want to get golden brown, but not darken too much and get too bitter. So give it a little shake to make sure they don't stick. A little bit of butter in, just to help with the colour. And now get like a little bit more colour in the oven itself because we're going to move it to the oven now just to heat through. So now that that's in, we're just going to move on to the next garnish, which is this celeriac from the garden.
Lovely.
Kind of roasted whole. They're very small, very delicate. It's the same thing, just a bit of colour. Gonna give them a little turn. With the potato and beef, I use butter, but for this, we make vegan stock from seaweed and mushrooms and reduce it down so it's very intense, very savoury.
Some people it's really thick.
It's just a wonderful savoury, like glazed stuff like vegetables, even meats and stuff like that.
And it kind of has that toffee kind of taste to it.
Exactly.
I think so. Beautiful.
Just going to glaze them up now a bit.
They look great.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Almost like little bananas.
Yeah.
Like
And like-
caramelized banana. And then with that, I'm just going to have some, these are kales from the garden that Gordon picked. We just blanched them and we just put a little bit of the same glaze on that. A little bit of salt as well. All right, so Neven, if you just want to grab the dishes from the hot box.
Okay, I'll do that for you.
And the beef as well, please.
Now, there we go. A lot of work in this dish, Jonathan.
I know.
I'm telling you, you need 20 chefs in this kitchen.
I know. I should have just done soup.
No, that's not your style.
I know.
What do you want me to do with the beef?
So if you just want to move it under the salamander just to try and get the heat back just on the outside. So
Lovely.
And while we're doing that, we can also put the kales and the celeriac under.
Here.
So I have pickled celery.
So you love pickling things, don't you?
I do. It's just like I'm very big on acidity as a seasoning. So these are some garden onions. We confit as well. And then lastly, here's some flowers from the garden. So I've got some rocket. Most people have never seen rocket flowers. They've only seen the leaf. Some chive, and this is kind of like a brassica kind of flower, and nasturtium. I might just go one bit of parsley. The kales are just going to be like a bed for the beef. Celeriac, and then celeriac puree. And so this is the beef. I might just trim it a little bit, just to make it a little bit neater for the plate.
You're so precise with your shapes and textures and...
Just to make it look appealing. The eyes eat first, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm going to leave it just like a nice whole piece. I think it's nice to have people to think they're having like a steak, you know, that kind of way.
Of course.
And then I think the last thing is the sauce we're going to serve with the main part of the beef. And I'm just going to put a few things through. I quite like having little bits and pieces through a sauce. I just think it makes it a lot more exciting. So I have some wild garlic buds, and then lastly, a little bone marrow.
Yeah.
So again, that kind of Bordelaise style inspiration.
That looks so beautiful.
I've got a little side dish I want to serve with that as a little extra.
I thought you were finished. This is unbelievable.
I know. So basically slow cooked onions, just on like a low heat here, and they just almost go to like a jam kind of texture.
It's sweet and sticky.
Absolutely, yeah. This is the beef cheek we talked about earlier. And then for acidity, these are the fermented turnip. So garden turnips packed with salt raw, leave 2 weeks, and they become this kind of like quite pungent. So the last little touch, palm mousse, potato foam, essentially.
God, that's unbelievable. Look at how creamy that is.
And lastly, just to finish it, you know, ever get like your onions on a hot dog,
Yes.
those crispy things? So we did a homemade version of that with a little bit of lovage from the garden that we dried.
John, that looks so good. Look at the shine in the sauce and the beef. It's beautiful. Lovely and tender. You can even feel it when you cut it. I love the sauce. The beef, such flavour.
A great product to work with. I'm
beautiful.
just happy you can like do it justice, you know?
Oh, yeah. That beef cheek is beautiful. Wow, I love your style of food and such a lovely level of different flavours and tastes and textures. John, thank you so much. And good luck here in Grians. Well done.
Just before you go, if you wouldn't mind just topping up your signature on something. So many years ago when I was starting out as a chef,
My God.
I did a week with you in up in your kitchen.
Wow, it's a very clean book. You haven't even opened it.
At the end of the week, you gave me this.
That was lovely.
And a few quid in an envelope as well. And I was very grateful at that time.
Thank you.
And I think you being here today, I think things have kind of nicely come full circle.
Wow, that's a nice story.
And it's been a pleasure.
I'm very touched.
Thank you.
I just don't recognise that young man.